Welcome to The Firing Line. The Firing Line radio show is brought to you by Bullseye Sports in Riverside, the Riverside Indoor Shooting Range, CCW Safe, Maupin Financial Advisors, Cutting Edge Bullets for when you care enough to send the very best, Prado Olympic Shooting Park in Chino, and Vortex Optics. Vortex, the force of optics. And now your host, Phillip Naman.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Firing Line Radio Show. And you guessed it, it's the Rex Reviews crew back again in from Mr. Phillip Naman for a New Year's 2018 special. I'm excited, guys.
Yeah, we finished off 2017 with great efficiency, and we're ready to move on into the next year.
Yeah, we're going to crush 2018 like it has no idea what's coming.
Yeah, we're going to wrestle it to the ground, punch it in the face, and subdue it thoroughly.
That's my specialty, actually.
Speaking of, where's Phillip Naman at?
I don't know, man. I saw him stumble off into the bushes with a bottle of champagne that was half empty, so he's having a good time. He's got some kind of sparkly, pointy hat, getting a little bit ready in advance for the New Year's celebrations, but he's quite the festive guy. I do enjoy the company of Phillip, and it'll be nice to be able to hang out with him again here pretty soon, in February, actually.
Yeah, we're actually going to be all in the same room at the same time together as a one cohesive unit.
Absolutely, and you never know what could happen when you get such characters in the same place at the same time. It could be very dangerous.
Absolutely. For those of you out in listener land who don't know us, we are the Rex Reviews podcast crew, and every now and then when Phillip is on a top secret mission across the world somewhere, he has us fill in for him, or if he just needs the weekend off to spend with his family. But either way, it is always our pleasure, and we've done this, this is our fourth time on the show now?
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Is it really?
No?
Hard to believe.
Been here a while.
Yeah, we have lots of fun, though, don't we?
That is the one thing we are good at. I don't know if we're good at anything, but having fun, I guarantee we've got that down, guys.
I'm surprised they let us come back after Rex's mischievousness last time.
I was a little extra mischievous on the last episode, talking about the mischievous elves. But now that we're past all that, we're ready to move on and get her done.
So you know what the best part about New Year is?
What's that?
New you. You get to make changes and do stuff that's going to make you awesome.
What do you got planned for this year,
thing.
Casey?
Well, I'm going to become a very viable shooter. That is my trajectory, my mission, the only thing I got going on this year. So I will be attending all of the classes.
You should probably be teaching a couple of them by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's
hope.
entirely possible. You know, it's kind of, for those who don't know, we do precision rifle training classes, and Kacie here was brand spanking new to the deal, and she hadn't ever fired a shot before in her entire life until this year, actually, and she busted through the ice. And you want to share with us kind of how your enthusiasm grew from 0 to deadly within like 6 shots and beyond?
Yeah, no, it's been a really great journey for me. You know, I especially didn't think that I was going to like to shoot. I really wanted nothing to do with it. Just bad experience. I was scared of the sound it made. I was afraid that I couldn't handle it, those sort of things. Things that people tell you, or you just hear, or you know, things that scare you away. But it was not that way at all. I started off with handguns. We got me out just shooting a bunch of different guns to see what I could use for my personal self-defense sort of deal. And I tried just about everything. Ended up settling on a 9mm Glock. And then we got into the precision stuff. And obviously, you know, being part of the podcast, I get to hear about it all the time, but I didn't have any time on the rifle. So it was just something that I knew about, but didn't really know.
So we blindfolded Kacie and threw her right into the middle of the class with a rifle.
Yeah, they pretty much threw me out there. I got to shoot.
And then you made her go first, too.
Yeah,
she was the first one in all the different squads for all the drills. It was pretty funny.
In the line, yes. They put me on like team 1, number 1. That's where I was. So I was always number 1 in all the drills. And it was really funny. I'd shot a rifle, a 6.5 Creedmoor maybe twice. And that wasn't even the rifle I was at the course with. I was with the 308.
That was just breaking through the ice for the first time on a centerfire rifle. We got her out at 100 yards.
Yeah.
Just teaching like in super, super detailed class on firing position analysis and just laying there and the proper technique and the marksmanship of getting the perfect 3 shots laid down. In her first group that she ever shot with any rifle, actually the first 3 shots she ever fired on a rifle were a minute of angle. And the second one was a little bit better than that. So from absolute zero, never firing a rifle in your life, to laying down prone. This is not even from a bench. This is laying down in the field prone, like you would shoot in the field. You're shooting 1 minute of angle at 100 yards with your first 6 shots. And then we were able to transfer that knowledge set over into the class very easily. Because that was one of the prerequisites for the course, is that people have a rifle set up that can accomplish that, and that they can get to that level of proficiency to consistently shoot 1 minute of angle. If they can accomplish that, then they're eligible to get started on this the live fire portion of the class. And you rocked it, sister. It was pretty awesome to watch you just light up.
And by the end of the course, people were accusing Kacie of cheating. Because she was shooting so well.
I thought it was staged, man.
They thought I was just cheating it up, man.
She had extra bullets.
Yeah. Everybody thought he was going out there with extra bullets.
What were you running there? Do you remember what rifle you're running?
Yeah, I was running a 308 from AB Arms. It was Remington 700 was the heart of the rifle. But yeah, I was running that 308. I had Harris bipod, and I had Valdetta IOR on the top of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what I was running. It was really good. That IOR though is so easy because you don't have to adjust it very much. I mean, obviously for dialing in you do, but after that, the glass is so clear that
in terms
minimal.
of getting everything tweaked just perfectly, it's very forgiving optic. It's got a huge eye box on it. We talk a lot about the different optic selection on our YouTube channel, where we have the long range precision tutorial series, 101 episodes of all the different stuff that it takes to get set up with long range shooting, from equipment selection, from external ballistics, internal ballistics, all that stuff, on into how to put it all together in the end and make a system work. So
101 videos, Rex. How long did that take you to put those all together?
Remember, man. I started back when I was going to school, and just kind of as a side project deal, and I never thought it'd go that far, but it worked out good. It was quite the popular series of videos. People kept wanting more and more details, so about 60 or so videos into it, I anticipated to kind of space it apart to make it hit 101. and we nailed it, dude. It was about the right amount of... There's a lot of stuff, man. When you're talking about a precision rifle, a lot of different field crafts, when you're talking about guns in general, you can get away with just learning the kinesthetics of shooting. So, classes for firearms-related stuff can generally be accomplished in a relatively short amount of time on the range for most applications of fire, because it's all muscle memory, or a lot of it is muscle memory. With precision rifle shooting, though, you have to be kind of a scientist in there. You have to apply a huge amount of knowledge in an effective way that is streamlined, and also at the same time, you have to almost be like at an extreme level of mechanical competency in understanding what's going on in the internal ballistics of the weapon to even drive that thing properly. Because even things like refining your firing position, just having like a basic understanding of rifle harmonics and reverberations and exactly what happens with the process of the bullet working its way down the barrel as the pressure builds up. All that stuff actually can be put to good use when you're mastering the tiny subtleties of how to apply precision rifle fire effectively. And that's really what separates the men from the boys. You can't really just kinesthetically learn long-range precision rifle shooting. There's too much tiny stuff going on that really affects what's going to happen. And a lot of times people are troubleshooting things in the field, trying to figure out what in the heck's going on with a particular problem, and they misidentify or misattribute a particular set of observations to something that is an incorrect assessment. And that's what we give when we do the first portion of our training is a seminar portion, which is followed up a month or two later, typically with a live fire portion. But it's very important to master the material before getting to that live fire portion so that you can be a viable shooter. You don't want to just stumble around and carry out the kinesthetics. You got to also master the knowledge base to consistently be able to self-identify all those weird things that are going to come up in the subtleties of the craft.
And that's the thing about long-range precision shooting, my man, is that not only is it a science, it's also an art at the same time. And they overlap in such a finessed way that you really have to get out there and experience it to appreciate all the infinite dynamics of it. And speaking of mastery, the stuff that we do is at a master level. This is like a PhD in long-range precision shooting.
There's a lot of other courses out there that do a really good job at what they train to get people just familiar with shooting a rifle with great precision. But what we do when we're talking about extreme long range, there's a whole huge extra set of complications that are you got to consider when you're doing the equation. So that's what we'll talk about when we come back.
Yeah, and we break it down like nobody else, and we're going to get into it after a quick break. It's the Rex Reviews podcast crew in for Phillip Naman. Thank you for joining us for a New Year's edition of the Firing Line Radio Show.
This portion of the Firing Line is brought to you by Bullseye Sports in Riverside and Cutting Edge Bullets for when you care enough to send the very best.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this? This is my boomstick!
Hey folks, welcome back to Firing Line Radio Show. Now our sponsor, Vince Torres of Bullseye Sports Guns and Ammo, wants to thank the many families who were able to help purchase a firearm to protect their home this past year. Now before you shop for personal protection firearm, I encourage you to go down to Bullseye Sports in Riverside and speak with Vince, the owner, or one of the many good people at the store, and you'll receive a welcome and an educational experience to make you feel confident and comfortable with a firearm purchase. Bullseye Sport wishes you and your family a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and a safe holiday season. Give the gift of protection with a stocking stuffer from Bullseye Sport. Gift certificates can be purchased in custom amounts for your custom giving. Bullseye Sports Guns and Ammo in Riverside, where the Inland Empire gets their guns and ammo. Thank you, Vince, for all of your support on that, and a Merry Christmas to you, too.
Welcome back to the Firing Line Radio Show. It's Lew McCoy, Kacie Day, and TiborasaurusRex, the Rex Reviews podcast crew, in for Mr. Phillip Naman once again. And thanks again, Phil, for letting us fill in for you. It's always a pleasure when we get to do this and hang out with you guys here in sunny California. We're from the upper Midwest, up in the North Country, and it's just colder than hell up there at the moment. So being able to come down to California and hang out and
a real treat, man.
Ring in the new year with you fine folks, could not ask for a better treat. But
Amen.
Except for coming back in about, a month and a half, we're going to be back, actually.
Yeah, we'll be back here. We got a seminar going on at the Bass Pro Shops at Rancho Cucamonga. For anyone who is wanting to get in on any of the later live fire portions of the class, like we said earlier, the seminar is like a prerequisite to those. That is the classroom portion. That's where we hammer out all those different details that people really need to know for a master's level course. It would be fun just to take people out there and shoot, but that's probably best left to some of the other outfits that specialize in the kinesthetics and the marksmanship. We do all that as well, but we really get into a lot of the in-depth stuff in terms of the science and applying all the different details to make a truly viable field expedient shooters. So something you would actually be able to take into real life rather than just in a competitive environment or just in a, even a hunting capacity, but potentially in a situation where you might need to use it for liberty preservation, or there's a whole slew of different applications of fire that we talk about in the class. And we also, that's one of the things where we get into equipment selection and cartridge selection, and we go through all that in the class, and we try to get people super squared away in terms of their equipment before they invest in that stuff, because it's very expensive.
It's not a cheap hobby to be into, is it?
No, and actually it's interesting because at the seminars where we really save people the most money is before they make all the decisions. We get them completely narrowed down on exactly what they're trying to accomplish. They can see from a bird's eye view all the different options they have at their disposal, and we go through all the different sorts of ammunition selection, cartridge selection, rifle and optic selection especially is important, because you got to get the right optics, you got to get the right rifle, you got to get the right rings. There's a lot of people who maybe haven't had the opportunity to really sit down with and consult on these things, but it'll save you like thousands and thousands of dollars just in terms of the equipment selection from the seminar.
And
so
then-
it
and then
actually
all
pays for itself and then some. It actually saves you a lot of money.
Oh, and then all the ammo that you save, not having to burn it up, and the gas going to the range, and then, parts and
Really?
and more
Absolutely.
optics, and then another gun.
Well, and it's an interesting conversation too, because some folks were kind of wondering, like, can't we? They want to opt out of the seminar portion, the classroom portion. But if you talk to anybody who's an expert in their field, let's say someone wants to go and be a dentist, and they just want to start pulling on teeth with pliers, but they don't want to go to dentist school, right? You know what I'm saying?
I actually had a dentist like that when I was a kid.
Yeah, my old man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the pliers out.
But not to be too ridiculous, but that's really where we're at. Or someone who wants to be a pilot, but they just want to jump behind the controls of the jet and start flying around before they learn about all the science that needs to. There's a lot of stuff going on that has to be taught.
You got to learn how to drive the thing.
And yeah, if you just want to screw around on an airplane, that's fine. But if you really want to command that aircraft properly, you probably should at least get some kind of course. And that's true with anything in life, especially if you really get into a competent degree of proficiency in this particular field. The classroom portion is where the gold is. And even for people who are the most experienced shooters, there's a lot, they kind of plateau out just doing live fire classes, because there's only so much you can learn in a 2 or 3 or 4 day live fire class, and then you kind of plateau out because the class is going at the pace of the slowest person there.
Yep.
That's just kind of the nature of the beast. We hold a lot higher standard in terms of where we pick up at, and actually for someone who has been shooting for 30 years or is a professional already, the seminar is where the gold is at. That's where most people are finding the value in terms of the experts. I think that the follow-up live fire portion is important to go and exercise those things you learn in the seminar. But in all honesty, I think that that's where the best money spent is because that's where you learn all the super. I mean, we talk about how on a microscopic level what happens when you mount a scope, and there's a lot of stuff there that just being aware of it can save you $700 right there just in one pop. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
In terms of ammo and screwing around with different mounts and rings and thinking your scope is broke or you bedded your rifle because you misidentified a problem. So we got a lot of engineers and a lot of gunsmiths and a lot of professional shooters come onto these things. And that's where the solid gold really is, in my opinion. And then also we do offer those long-range courses for people who actually want to exercise that, because that's a natural deal too.
And something, too, to consider is, obviously, Rex, you do give out a lot of free information online for people. They can look this stuff up themselves. But the cool part about coming to these seminars is that you do get that one-on-one consultation. You get to meet a bunch of other guys that are into the sport. It's
Absolutely.
a fun time. And as far as being well-rounded, you really get everything you need from it.
Yeah, you absorb so much peripheral information just from being in the presence of, a bunch of other guys that have been living and breathing this stuff just like, you have.
And that's the thing about this particular field, the long-range precision shooting, is that this isn't the run-of-the-mill average Joes that you run into at the gun range when you go out.
This is a highly disciplined sport. And if you want to call it a sport, it's a highly disciplined competency. It's not something that you just instantaneously can pick up. There's a lot of stuff going on.
And it's all cumulative too, man. That's the thing about it.
Absolutely. And you're only going to be as good as you really can be. And if there's any weak link in your chain of information or in your general competencies, what's going to happen is that weak link is going to break and then the whole thing falls apart.
Yep.
Because at long range, there is zero wiggle room for forgiveness. Like if you screw up one tiny thing out of 10,000 things, it ain't going to go. You're going to miss. And there's a lot of guys who can get on target after shooting a million times, what they call Las Vegas shooting, where you just keep pulling the trigger until you hit. But that's not what I consider to be the long-range shooting. What I strive to get people to the level of is like when Kacie did the class, the first 2 rounds she ever fired beyond 100 yards, her first drill was starting off at 800, and she had a 308 with a 20-inch barrel. So she's kind of at a handicap at 800 yards. That's like the max effective range of that cartridge, arguably. But she delivered a first round hit and then a second round follow-up hit.
And I have to tell you, Rex, it's crazy. So I'm on my third time shooting now with the last class. We went out shooting last weekend. And with that last one, I picked up a random gun, a 308. I used a Kestrel dialed in and shot 3 shots at 900 and had about a minute of angle.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And that's my third time out.
Yeah, it's her third time shooting a rifle in her life.
The student becomes the teacher. But that's the thing about these seminars, man, and this course of instruction is that it doesn't just show you how to do something. It actually educates you on the process, the concepts, the fundamentals, and shows you how they're all connected together.
Yeah.
And then it gives you the power to problem solve and think and figure things out on your own. That's the point of education.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing, my man.
There's so much stuff we cover in this seminar. I mean, you hit the ground running. There's like not 1 second wasted. We're almost like in a mad dash to get through all the stuff that's so important because there's so many things. And honestly, a guy could talk about it for months, right? And that's why we have the supplemental form of education in the form of the video series that is available for free. But in the seminar, we tie everything together and show you how to implement all of the major components of this science into a usable system that actually can be employed in the field effectively.
And so far, the reviews have been pretty positive.
Yeah, folks have a really fun time, and they don't want to leave. At the last one we did in Texas, the last live fire that we did, we're at that Mexican restaurant, and dudes were not wanting to escape there. So
to learn more about what we do or to sign up for the classes, check out rexdefense.com and stick around. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more of the Firing Line radio show right after this. Happy New Year.
This portion of the Firing Line is brought to you by the Riverside Indoor Shooting Range and CCW Safe.
Spartans! Lay down your weapons! Persians! Come and get them!
Welcome back to the Firing Line radio show. It's Lew McCoy, Kacie Day, and TiborasaurusRex in for Phillip Naman for a New Year's special. And happy 2018, everybody. We survived another one. Hard to believe. And if you're curious about our podcasts, check out rexreviews.org. We've got almost 20 or over 20, or maybe exactly 20 of them up now, and we've got a lot of fun on there.
God, guns, and rock and roll, baby.
That's what we do.
Solid gold.
Yes, sir. Along with our seminars that we were just talking about, and we're going to be putting one on in Rancho Cucamonga coming up here in February.
Yeah, rexdefense.com for the exact schedule or to be able to sign up for that. That's probably going to be the last one in California for quite a while, actually. There is a live fire coming up in March. There's still just a couple slots open for that deal for anyone who's interested who has taken the seminar. But the seminar is prerequisite to that. That we pretty much almost insist on that. That's where the true gold is delivered, is in the seminar, and then it's played with and explored at the live fire.
It's the master key, like you say.
It is the master key. Unlock all the information, yep.
Because after the classroom, everybody's on the same page, everybody's up to speed, and then once you get on the range, you're not wasting anybody's time.
Right. And this isn't one of them classes where like here is the buttstock, here is the trigger, here's the bolt handle. You know, we get into things in pretty good depth. So you're going to want to be pretty darn proficient. If you've not really been into long range rifles seriously for a long time, this might be kind of out of your ballpark, in all honesty, just to be straightforward. But if you're a serious long range shooter or want to be one, even Kacie was able to get through it pretty well and have good effective results. You can learn a heck of a lot. But this is really geared for like real serious guys who want to get that master's degree or above level course is what we tried to structure it like a college class, in engineering or a college level science class.
And you break it down like that too, Rex.
Yeah, we go in professor mode, don't we?
Yeah, Professor Rex has checked in. Like even your section on ballistics, man.
Sure.
You break that into internal, external, and terminal ballistics, right?
Don't forget transitional ballistics.
And transitional?
And I'm not talking about other things that Californians talk about a lot.
Oh, my goodness. We're not talking about bullets that need their own bathrooms here.
No. Oh, dear. I'm going to get kicked off the air again. I'm sorry. But yeah, we get into the science in great detail. So many people have an overemphasis on external ballistics, which is actually relatively straightforward in terms of how you calculate firing solutions and stuff like that. But where the biggest room for improvement sometimes is an understanding of internal ballistics and some of the processes that happen before the bullet exits a muzzle, because it's all very important when it comes down to your firing position. How you deploy the rifle exactly has a huge bearing on it. For example, deploying the rifle from concrete versus the ground versus a sandbag versus over a rucksack, all those things are going to affect your point of impact dramatically. And so that's something that sometimes people misidentify when they're trying to problem solve why they move. They think their scope wiggled, and it didn't. They're firing from a different position. And it's all those tiny subtleties in the internal ballistics that make all that stuff happen. Likewise, even in equipment selection, a lot of people ask, which chassis design or which stock design would be a better choice. And really, once you become familiar with the science of how this stuff has to work for this game, you can just take a glance at a rifle stock and pretty much know, this is maybe an inferior choice to this one. We talk about how the harmonic reverberations go from the action, how to properly bed that action with the recoil lug and everything, and then how it's transferred back and how the recoil is transferred, and how bore axis shifts occur, muzzle whiplash, all that stuff. We even get into the transitional ballistics, or exactly how the crown needs to be contoured and what can happen there, what to be aware of. There's a million different things going on in the rifle, all the subtleties. I mean, even where the sling swivel stud is resting can throw you off and make you miss at 1,400 yards, right? And so especially when we get into the more advanced level live fire courses that we're going to do in the future, the extreme long range where we're shooting like a mile or 2,000 yards or more than that, we're actually getting those set up for 2018. The seminar is like absolutely... You have to have taken that.
It's crucial, man.
Because if you don't, then you're really just trying to catch people up with where they need to be when they come there in the first place. Because even the most competent shooters, there's always some kind of something to learn there. You know what I'm saying? And just sometimes when you see someone go over something that you already think you mastered pretty well, myself included, I learn new things every day from all kinds of people. We just did a little bit of training not too long ago with a friend, and I learned new tricks every day too. But sometimes those things can be that missing link that just, bam, lights everything up. It's like a circuit on a circuit board, right? If that connection is not going through every component on that thing, it's not going to work. Or it's going to work really crappy, or it's going to, it's going to be wrong.
But once that connection is made, then it's there and it works.
You're winning.
Exactly.
Winning big time. So it's a lot of fun. So we get into, all that stuff. We also talk about, the ammunition selection, the cartridge selection, optics. We get into that in very good detail. That's probably one of the biggest places where people get tripped up in the long-range equipment selection is in optics. That really makes or breaks the deal on the equipment end of the spectrum, not counting the human end, which is equally as important to all the equipment stuff combined. We also talk about what the human has to do in terms of how they're going to balance information under pressure. There's so many things, but optics is one where you save a lot of money. Actually, is because there's certain criteria set of features that you need to have, and on top of that, those features have to work in certain ways. And so that's where we get into, in very good depth, exactly which models of scopes you're going to want and which ones you're probably not going to want to wrestle with to save a lot of money. A lot of people learn the hard way and spend $10,000 on 50 different scopes that never work until they land on one that actually does work. So they could have saved like a lot of coin if they would have just had some maybe a little bit better consultation on that issue.
And that's where most of the questions and concerns come from too, is concerning optics.
Yeah, and it's really a specialized field. A lot of the gun store guys in general may or may not be equipped to do that, dependent on how serious they are in this particular sport. But this is, when we're talking about extreme long range shooting especially, it's a very, very, very specific skill set. And so the choices and exactly what you're employing in terms of optics, we go through all that in this seminar in terms of like, what exactly are you trying to accomplish? Are you hunting? Are you doing a tactical deal? How far are you shooting? How does your brain work? How many different layers of dimension can you envision in your mind so that you can make the proper decision on your optics that you're going to implement with your firing solution? All those things are like interrelated, and we explain that in the seminar. I don't want to give away all the gold, and it would take. We'll be here all night, man.
Or for another couple
I'm
minutes
having too
anyway.
much fun already, Lou. Someone stop me. Take this coffee away from me, Kacie.
One of my favorite things from the seminar, honestly, was going through and seeing how the internal ballistics affect the external ballistics and then get into more of the terminal ballistics. I thought that in like real world application that applied really, really well because you are in control of that gun. Some of the other things that I really liked was the fact that you do go over how to generate your firing solution. I think that's a huge difference from other classes that I've seen online or taken personally. You know, it just gets you to that advanced level. It's totally different. You know, it's not just walking you out to targets. It's making you a viable shooter by yourself.
Yeah, that's that viability thing we stress. And what that basically means is that we can drop you off in a helicopter in an undisclosed location with your kit, and you can know what you're doing in actual reality. You don't need your cell phone. If your batteries run out, you are still a long-range shooter. A lot of guys, if the batteries run out, they cease to exist as a long-range shooter. They are completely dependent on all these delicate, intricate peripheral equipments.
Gadgets.
Yeah, the gadgets, you know, and there's just there's a level of redundancy you need in your firing system, and that's something we get into as well, is our proprietary firing system, which is really kind of a interesting backup mechanism that's based on the analog. And not to say we shouldn't use computers, because they can do incredible things, but it's very good to have all those backup systems in place and a true understanding of what the heck you're trying to accomplish out there. And so, for example, we make people in the class, when they get to the live fire part, we make them memorize their dope in 100-meter increments. Then we don't tell them how far the target is. They don't know how far it is. And they have to figure it out using the reticle and their brain from their memorization.
You better be careful, Rex. You're going to scare people off, man.
Right.
That sounds hard.
It is hard, but there's a lot of people who actually can pull that off, and most people are very close.
Yep.
So we're teaching a level of competency in our class it's designed for field applications, not necessarily for winning a contest where you know all the distances to the target, but really throwing you out there in a random, target universe where a deer could pop up, or a bad guy or whatever you're trying to engage could pop up anywhere. And you have like a certain small amount of time, and you got to figure out how far it is, and you got to know your ballistics in your brain, because that's your ultimate backup, assuming everything else goes to pot, right? And you got to kill that thing.
This ain't your grandma's long-range precision rifle course.
But that being said, too, is even people like Kacie and some of the other chicks over there had a good time with it, and they did very well.
They kick some butt, and we're going to talk about that, and we're just about out of time already today, guys. Hard to believe. For more information or to sign up for classes, check out rexdefense.com, and we'll be back with more of the show.
This portion of the firing line is brought to you by Prado Olympic Shooting Park in Chino and Vortex Optics. Vortex, the force of optics.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Welcome back to the Firing Line Radio Show. It's Lew McCoy, Kacie Day, and TiborasaurusRex, the Rex Reviews podcast crew, in for Phillip Naman. And can you believe it, guys? The show's just about over with already.
Yeah, we never get through the whole story, do we, Lew? We have way too much fun.
We get close, though.
It is a lot of fun.
We have way too much fun doing what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
As we talked about earlier, if there's one thing we're good at, it is having fun. Of course, if you want to check out some of our fun times and good times and great oldies, we've got a whole library of podcasts on rexreviews.org, and lots of fun times there. What were we talking about before, guys? The training, right? That's what we were talking about, and the different courses available after the seminar, because that's the master key. And once you get done with that, then it opens up the courses out on the range.
Yeah, we got a whole different selection of stuff that we're doing. What we've done last year is RX series, the RX-18 live fire, which is a really good course. It's all encompassing and just getting you to a degree of competency with the rifle from the prone position, from 100 to 1,000 yards, or a little bit more than that. But we got some special stuff coming up for this year, like an extreme long-range course that's going out to beyond a mile. For those guys, it's kind of centered on Magnum rifles. So if you got like a big center fire Magnum that's a long-range rifle, that class is custom tailored for that. Specialized equipment is required, so we go over that in the seminar, exactly what you're going to need. And then we also have an equipment list recommended, a very rigid equipment recommendation list for that. Also, we are working on a designated marksman course.
And what's that?
So guys who are running ARs, I don't know if Californians are allowed to really run ARs or stuff like that anymore. But for those who are still maybe listening, and I don't know what the deal is in terms of legality here, because we come from the free part of the United States where we're from, so I don't remember all these new laws down here. But if you got a semi-automatic rifle or even like a scout rifle, like a bolt action, something, and you want to train in the designated marksman role, which is kind of a small unit sharpshooter, for combat applications. We're putting on a course. We're getting that all squared away. It's going to be locally available too. I think we're going to get something rolling in Nevada, and it's going to be like a really awesome course teaching all the different levels, of shooting at unknown distances, with the rifle quickly, a multiple target engagement, and also the tactics on a small unit level, like a 3-person or less is the way ours is going to be geared. And so it's going to be a pretty fun course. Also, we're doing some PRS stuff. We got some really cool folks helping us with some PRS classes in the future. If you're interested in the competition side of it, we're getting that curriculum all squared away. Also, I don't know, again, what the legalities are here in California, but if you ever want the chance to try your hand at some HTI stuff, hard target interdiction, 50 calibers, or even a 416 Barrett or a 408 Chi-Tac, some of those big cartridges like that are anti-material rifles, we're going to have a specialized course in that as well. And if you're from California and you can't legally possess one there, I think we're going to make some available for rental, possibly in Nevada, pending that it's all compliant and everything's golden there. So that's kind of a future plan. That's going to be a fun one. You can just drive over to Nevada for a weekend and have the family, go put coins in machines or go see a show or whatever they like to do. And then the guys will sneak off and do some hard target interdiction stuff. And then the one that I'm most excited for is the Combat Command Fire course. And that's kind of where you get to be sneaky and do the field craft and have an objective. Wow. And you got to go through an entire deal and try to evade detection. And then you get to, it's a whole course that we got set up just for that end of things. How to apply this in the field in more of a fun setting. You know what I'm saying? Just like on the movies, except more realistic because you're actually going to have to shoot the rifle then and engage the target with no one finding you. So it's going to be kind of a fun course there. And then, of course, we have a whole slew of other top secret projects going on. We have maybe some custom ballistics course going on in the future, and we'll see how everything pans out, and just all kinds of fun stuff. But the seminar is going to be that entry point that, and it's not even an entry point. You actually learn about all these different fields that I just enumerated at the seminar. And so it gives you that bird's eye view of all those different classes and things we talked about, so that when you want to get set up with the rifle, you're getting pointed in the right general direction.
You make it sound way too easy, Rex.
Well, it's easy if you just, it's like playing the guitar after you learn is pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all this is too. Or like playing piano at first is really hard, or driving a car, right? Like, you remember the first time I ever drove a car, man?
Oh, it was terrifying.
And that old guy in the back seat was yelling at you. Actually, dude, I never took driver's ed.
Never?
Really?
Never did. No.
Really? I took it.
No, I just got the driver's license test. So the wife was trying to tell me what defensive driving was. I thought that was a crazy idea. Like, what? Why would you do that? Get out of my way.
It's an oxymoron.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
But once you get proper training, whether it's a driver's lesson or whatever, suddenly it's not so hard.
And after you take the class, you'll be so far accelerated into the future in comparison to where you were. You're going to look back in retrospect and say, wow, this is easy now. Mm-hmm. And that's the point of why we want to get you there, to an extreme level of competency in a short amount of time, bypassing tens of thousands of dollars of screwing around.
And not only tens of thousands of dollars, man, but also many, many years. Many years of struggling and...
although that is a fun way to learn too, man. That's the way I had to learn a lot of things, right?
True.
Is lots of struggling around, lots of buying the wrong scope, lots of adjusting barrels, changing barrels because you misidentified a problem, just shooting and not understanding why the bullet wasn't going where you wanted it to, and you just kept burning powder, burning up barrels, trying to gather empirical data and figure it out by yourself. And you can learn a heck of a lot that way. Or you can have someone tell you all that stuff.
Learn from someone else's experience.
You can start at a way higher level and then wrestle on that level and get to an incredible level of expertise after a short amount of time after you start working from that point. Because now you're dealing with all kinds of really tiny little subtleties to really master it and really push the envelope. So that's fun, man.
And that's the power of education, too, is it gives people the opportunity and ability to figure things out on their own.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're doing here is we're giving you a PhD in long-range precision shooting.
That is the plan, man. If anyone pays attention even halfway, they're going to learn a lot.
And for anybody who thinks that they know everything, you should probably show up too, because you're going to learn probably more than everybody else.
Yeah. No, and I understand how that works too, man. Like, I learned so much from other people, and that's a true sign of someone who has, I think, maybe a true competency or mastery in each subject is the more you actually learn, the more you realize there's so much more to learn, right?
Yes, sir.
And so that's the cool thing about people in this particular field. They're such highly disciplined individuals that the people who come to our seminars are not the guys who just want to let's go out there and start pulling a trigger. Remember that Simpsons episode where the crazy guy wanted to go to the police academy just to shoot the guns?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to take any more of these lessons. When do we get to the guns, you know? And that's fun too. But this particular craft, I like it because it's a high degree of discipline. These guys who come here are ready to learn all those things.
Guys and girls.
Yep. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Don't forget the girls.
Girls.
And they're not in a hurry to bypass things because they truly want to master and they don't want to miss any detail. So that being said, it's a cool environment when you're hanging out with these kind of guys because everyone's kind of ready for that. And everyone's to that point of true maturity to where they understand that there's stuff to learn still. Even the guys who are the experts. I mean, that's the cool thing too, is it's such a high degree level of expertise that people show up at these particular classes that just the conversation level at the bathroom breaks. Like when I go in to use the bathroom and you hear these guys talking, I'm like, wow, these guys are awesome. I love these people.
And that's the thing too, is that it's a high caliber of people and they're all there for the same reason. They're there to learn and they're eager to learn and hungry and thirsty for knowledge.
So if you're a highly disciplined individual who really wants a true level of mastery on this craft, this deal is going to be a lot of fun for you. If you do want to just get out there and maybe learn to shoot and do some of that other stuff, there's a lot of other classes you can take. And I would encourage those folks to maybe go in that direction. It might be more fun for them if they just want to get some trigger time. But we do get to the trigger time as well when we get to the live fire courses. But for those who really want to get a lot of stuff, that's what this deal is specifically catering to. And so as much fun as it is to go out and shoot, we get around to that. But it's something that we like to cover in full detail to deliver the high quality product.
Yes, sir. And we're going to have one of those seminars coming up at Rancho Cucamonga.
President's Day weekend, February.
Mark your calendars and sign up at rexdefense.com. Check out our podcast at rexreviews.org. And thanks again to Mr. Phillip Naman for letting us sit in today. It's always a pleasure. And is he going to make it back for his regular duties, or are we just permanently taking this over?
He was pretty stumbly the last time we saw him. So
Nah, Phillip will be right. And I look forward to seeing him again. He'll be at the seminar, and hope I can meet you guys in person and get to shake your hand. And that's one of the things I enjoy most, is just meeting everybody. So we all look forward to hanging out with you guys, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thanks again. You've been listening to the Firing Line Radio Show, and this is the Rex Reviews podcast crew signing off. We'll catch you next time.
When you have to shoot, don't talk.
The Firing Line Radio Show has been brought to you by Bullseye Sports in Riverside, the Riverside Indoor Shooting Range, CCW Safe, Maupin Financial Advisors, Cutting Edge Bullets for when you care enough to send the very best, Prado Olympic Shooting Park in Chino, and Vortex Optics. Vortex, the force of optics.
while she waits. Slumber is the dreaming, that hope that she kills instead of leaving the name. No, she's a minefield. She pops your body from the soul. Minefield, leave a big smoking hole.